Before I start, I really have to thank some people here. I want to start with my neighbor, Monica, down there. She led me to the sandwich shop in a really crucial physiological moment I was having this morning. And she also lent me that one innovation which I forgot back in my hotel, which is a pen to write with. Also, I want to thank Natasha from your team. She's been impeccable in terms of making sure that from a logistical point of view that everything worked seamlessly. So thank you.
Thank you.
And Eric, to you and to all of your team, thank you for putting this wonderful day today. Please join me in thanking them. So as I was listening to everyone today, one of the thoughts that was going on in my head was, what do I talk about? Right? I mean, we've been hearing throughout the afternoon on wearable technology and where technology is going and where technology came from, and it's really challenging to close this, right? So I figured that I would give you a glimpse of what happens behind the scenes at the Olympics. Many of you would be familiar with the Olympics most probably through TV. Probably some of you know some athletes or some coaches who work with the Olympics. But very, very, very few people get the chance to see what happens behind the scenes as different teams are preparing to the Olympic Games. I'll share with you one specific example with one specific sport. I will not be able to share with you as much as I would like to due to reasons that you could definitely appreciate. Before heading there, though, a quick word about myself. I recently moved to the US. It was about a year and a half ago. I was contracted out of Europe to lead the sports technology group at the US Olympic Committee and really to define what the sports technology will be doing for our Olympic athletes and to make sure that we're not leaving no medal behind due to our lack of technology use in the preparation phases. The Olympics, they not only represent sports, they represent different human values. Three of them I'm very fond of. Those are excellence, trust, and friendship. And talking about friendship, I want to take you back to 1936. The Olympic Games were held in Berlin. You could imagine what the political situation was like in 1936. But many people were gathered in the stadium to watch these two gentlemen compete against each other. The blonde athlete, he's German, his name was Lutz Long, and the other athlete is our own Jesse Owens. August 4th, 1936, that moment came. They were going to face each other face to face. Now during the morning sessions, it was a qualifying sessions for the long jump. So Long goes for his 3 runs. He qualifies really without no effort to the finals. Jesse, though, he fouls his first 2 attempts, and he has 1 more attempt to go. If he doesn't get that, he's out of the long jump. Now, for an athlete that was holding the world record then, that was quite a distressful moment, right? And underneath everyone's eyes, he was sitting at the edge of the track before taking the track for his last run, and something really unexpected happened. And mind you, this was Germany in 1936. The unexpected thing was that Long approached him and whispered something into his ear. After that, Jesse took the track, jumped, qualified. In the afternoon, these two gentlemen go head-to-head against each other. They break the Olympic record 5 times. And the competition ends with Jesse taking back the gold medal and Long the silver medal. And Long being the first one really to congratulate Jesse on this great achievement. This, to me, is a story about friendship, about respect, and it really embodies the different values of the Olympic Games. Now, these two gentlemen, they remained friends for the years to come. In 1943, unfortunately, Long fell down on the battlefield, and in one of his very, very last letters that he sent to Jesse, he mentions this phrase. Now, we find out some years afterwards what Long had whispered into Jesse's ears. He told him, "You hold the Olympic record. You don't have to give it your max each and every time. Just focus on qualifying. This is what you have to do this morning. In the afternoon, you're going to give it your max." And with those words, Jesse's attention shifted. And that was what helped him really get that gold medal. But let's come to us, and let's come to technology, right? 1993, you remember these cutting-edge innovations? How many people had the Walkman? Okay. How many people had a laptop? 3. How many people had a cell phone? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I usually get no more than 3, so awesome. Today, each one of us has this small gadget in our pockets, right? At least one of them. And just like technology is not a luxury anymore, but it's really an indispensable part of our everyday life, so it is an indispensable aspect of Olympic athletes. Without technology, there's no way, no hope to gain any medals whatsoever. If we look at the 100-meter hurdles final from the London Games, this was the finish. Who won? Who went home with the gold medal? Excuse me? Very good. So, Lane 7 got the gold medal. Then we had the 3 US athletes. 2 of them got 2 medals. 1 of them didn't get anything. And if you really focus on the difference in time between the gold medal and the silver medal, that gives you an idea regarding the numbers that we're talking about. If we look at the difference between the gold medal and no medal at all, it's 0.23 seconds. It's quicker than a blink of an eye. Blink and you'll miss it. So the questions that we always face are, how can we really gain that 1% margin that will allow us to put more athletes on the podium? Now, from a technological perspective, my question is, what kind of technology should we use so that our athletes get that 1% margin? And how can wearable technology, which is the topic of today, how can wearable technology help? And how can you guys, with your expertise, help make the difference? Now, let's step back in time to the early 2000s, right? And this is a classical photograph from any lab at any university that offered professional performance evaluation services to athletes. Right? We would put a bunch of funny-looking spheres on the bodies. We would have them do different actions on top of rectangles. We call them force platforms. We had quite high-edge cameras. These are like $500,000 systems all around the lab, capturing the information and transforming all of this into a 3D model, which, once we get the numbers, once we get the data that we were talking about all day, we could get the insight, right? Now, a typical setup would look like this, right? So imagine that we get a professional golf player into the lab. We put for them up a poster of the ocean with some hills and tell them, hey, imagine the breeze, imagine the sunshine, smell the ocean, and give it your best swing. And mind you, you've got some different things on you. Now, what do you think a professional golf player would do? If you were in her shoes, how likely would your swing be your best swing? Right? But still, we had to do this because that was the only way we could collect data from our athletes. It was the only way we could give them back something. So we had our engineers in the background crunching all the numbers and coming up with all different algorithms to come to a representation that looks like this. Right? We have joint angles, we have time sequences, we have forces. Is the data accurate? Yep. Is the data precise? Very much so. Is the data relevant? That's an interesting question, right? Because remember, we want to give the athletes with information that they can use when they're on the field. Then in 2002, as I was finishing up my PhD, 2 very, very interesting things happened. The first thing was that these toys became available on the market, commercially available on the market. A company out of the Netherlands assembled devices that had accelerometers and gyros and magnetometers and everything we have in today's devices, of course, take into consideration that it was 2002, and putting it on the market. So it was lightweight, not as lightweight as today's. It was wireless, even though we had different cables that still we had to put on the bodies, but it could transmit data wirelessly. It had a battery on it. And most importantly, it was portable. Being portable, that means that we could unlock ourselves from the walls and the ocean posters and go out onto the field. So that's the first thing that happened. The second thing that happened in 2002 was that our sports engineers and sports scientists became really, really fit. Don't I have the video? Nope. Okay, and I'll explain to you the content of the video. You have the gentleman who's on your left. He's a sports engineer. He has a laptop in his hand, and he's running at the same pace as the athlete. They're running together so that he can get all the data without losing anything, because there was no wireless transmission range that would get us from here, from this wall to that wall. And he had to do this on a daily basis without the laptop to begin with, to keep up with the pace, and then with the laptop. Luckily, he never fell. Now, if we look at a trend in terms of the attention that the scientific community is paying towards wearable technology and inertial sensors, specifically focusing on accelerometers and gyroscopes, we see an increasing trend, and it's going to be increasing and increasing and increasing. Mostly because since the 2006-2007 time frame, the big companies, your wireless communication companies, your mobile device companies began investing lots of money in this. And this is what leads us today to witness so many interesting innovations. Now today we have the privilege of being in a situation like this, right? We have tons and tons and tons of devices. This is just a snapshot from one of the reports of a Swiss bank when they were pitching to their investors why they should invest in wearable technology. Okay, just a simple snapshot. Now, the question, though, begs itself, right? Given all of these options on the market, how do you choose? How do you choose which device, which sensor, which whatever we want to call it, we need to use? How do we pick? Now, this is a question that we face on a daily basis at the U.S. Olympic Committee. And given our structure, given the fact that we're a nonprofit organization, given the fact that we're not backed up by the government, that we're only funded by sponsors and donors, and that we run on very limited manpower, having to deal with so many athletes and so many sports, we have to be strategic about the way that we approach this. And we really found value in two methods which I will share with you. Actually, there are two very simple questions. The first question is, why? And I would strongly invite you to ask yourselves these questions. Why? Why do we do what we're doing? Besides the fact that we want to get to the next greatest and the latest, and we want to be, the most selling product, most selling technology, why are we really doing this? And it's really about framing the problem. It's not about finding the solution. And the second question, which provokes another channel in our brain, is how might we? If you're not familiar with the term design thinking, I strongly recommend that you look it up. You Google how might we design thinking, a new world will open up for you. And by asking these two questions on a consistent basis, we have a much better chance at getting where we need to get given our structure. Now, I'll share with you an example of work that we're doing with wearable technology and with our diving program. Mind you, we don't do any internal development. We don't do any internal research at the U.S. Olympic Committee. We partner up and we establish collaborations with different parties on the market so that we can get the job done. And really, our work is about leading and managing timelines and expectations, and just making sure that everyone who's working with us is getting what they expect out of a project. Now, when we began talking to our diving coaches immediately after the London Games, we told them, hey, sports technology, it's here. What do you guys need? What do you guys want? And they say, well, we need to improve our video analysis capabilities. I say, okay, that's interesting. Why do you want to do this? Well, because if we can improve that, then we will be able to digitize video frames more quickly. So, okay, so if we digitize videos more quickly, why is that important to you? I said, well, because we really need to understand how quick the athletes are spinning in the air. So, okay, why is this important to you? And why again? And asking that consistent question, why, we begin going away from the symptom of the problem, and we begin really understanding what the cause is. Right? Because what our diving coaches were after wasn't really video technology. They wanted to be in a position where they're able to give quick and constructive and actionable, we heard a lot actionable today, feedback to their athletes at the pool without having to wait until tomorrow or until the training session is over. So then we told them, hey, you know what? What if we imagine a scenario of having something on the divers. We still don't know what that thing is. But that would, collect information on how they're doing their dives and transmit that information wirelessly to a laptop sitting at the side of the pool, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Many themes, the themes that you guys are familiar with. And I have to tell you, at the beginning, they were very, very skeptical, right? I mean, wearable technology in the water, in the swimming pool, come on, it's not going to work. And we really want video. But we convinced them, hey, let's give it a go. We found a very good partner on the market. It's a company out of Portland. It's a company that assembles, wearable devices, inertial sensors, devices that have accelerometers, gyros, wireless transmission, and so on. And we began experimenting, running very, very quick and constructive experiments with our divers, so that we learn from them what is it that they're really after, right? What is that actionable metric that we need to identify? Now, a classical experimental setup looks like this, where you have on the top side, different laptops sitting at the edge of the swimming pool. Okay. The bottom left image are the different devices that we use that are being charged up. We are still facing many challenges. One of the most challenging aspects today is how do we put these sensors on the diver's body? Right? And if you have any suggestions whatsoever, please don't hesitate. Anything. That diving, mind you, they can dive from a 10-meter platform. That's about 30 feet high. And when they smash on the water, get very, very, very big impacts. So a watch, for example, we tried that. It wouldn't work. Hence the image down there where one of our divers has the device on just above the ankle, and we had to tape it around with athletic tape so that we create that smooth and continuous line, and not to disrupt the recording, and not to have any damage happening to the sensors. Now, what the company from Portland is doing is that they're working on really creating the dictionary, right? Where we need to learn a new language, which is the language that you have on your left. All of those graphs, all of those numbers wiggling. And we know this language, which is the video language. Right? So how do we translate what's happening in a dive? How can we make use of the different data that we are able to collect today from the edge of a swimming pool? We are able to synchronize it with video. So we are way beyond the technical setup phase. And the challenge today is to come up with two extremely simple metrics that would provide our coaches with the information that they need so that they could give better and quicker feedback to their athletes. All of the thought line that Kaisar shared with us this morning, from the data to the information to the insights to the knowledge, it's the exact same path that we take here. We have to take it. Now, it's our responsibility as technologists and as experts of technology to put our coaches in the driving seat, right? I mean, you and I, we take our cars almost every morning. Probably in New York, less so, to go to work. Right? There was so much traffic this morning. But we are no car experts, right? However, we know when we're speeding, we know when we need to put gas, we know when we need to change the oil. We are able to take actions. We're able to make decisions that are derived from really sophisticated algorithms running in the background. And mind you, again, we are no car experts. And this is our responsibility towards our coaches. We want them to be in the driving seat. So I want to provoke in you some thoughts. Right? And really, I want this to be an open conversation. And this is my main, the main reason why I accepted Eric's invitation. I want to create a conversation around how can you, being the experts in your field, help us work around these points? How can we innovate together, right? How can we create new contexts for technology that is already working in other areas to be helpful to the US Olympic athletes? How can we interact? How can we establish partnerships? How can we establish collaborations? We have figured out that we're going to go nowhere from a simple client-vendor relationship. It only takes you to one point. But we're really talking about cutting-edge discoveries here. And it has to be a journey that we take hand in hand. How can we inform? How can we communicate? How can we educate the market? How can we explain to our coaches who have no idea what a wearable technology means, the benefits that they can gain from this? And finally, last but not least, how can we impact? How can we, together, help our athletes really get on the podium in 2016? Some questions for you to think about. And I'd love to have any conversations with you, either having a beer or a glass of wine afterwards or any time afterwards regarding this. Now, I personally believe that sport can change the world. I truly believe that. And more so the Olympic sports, because they really carry with them those human values which are not very easy to find in other sports environments. That's the beauty of it. Sports can change the world, and I hope that you believe this too. Thank you.